Huh.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Could you let me know in the chat if you can hear us, please? All right, fantastic. And while you're at it, can you let us know where you're calling in from? I am going to try and keep my eyes on the chat while I keep my eyes on my questions for Ali. This very diverse group. While we see them coming in from India, Thailand, Holland, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Ali Abdaal, welcome.
Mate, thanks for having me. This is so exciting. No, I've never recorded anything with Riverside before.
Oh, really?
At least not with a live audience model. We use it for our podcast.
Yeah, I heard that from Joe, actually. So I'm in the same boat. This is my first time with a live audience, so this is pretty exciting. I will also be opening it up to questions, so I will look in the chat for that when the time comes. But Ali, very excited to have you here, and today to focus exclusively on the Part-Time YouTuber Academy.
Love it.
So much to dive into there. You are how many weeks away from cohort 3?
We are starting next Monday, so yeah, that's week 1 of the course.
Amazing.
Sorting out all the onboarding. We've had onboarding phone calls, Zoom calls today, and we've got loads for the rest of the week, and ready to dive in from next week.
That's fantastic. All right, I'm so excited to dive into that. So everyone knows I was a student in cohort 1. Ali also asked me to help out behind the scenes, which was an eye-opening and thoroughly enjoyable experience. So I did that for cohort 1. I haven't been in that, or I wasn't involved at all in cohort 2. So I'm excited to sort of unpack some of the lessons that Ali had from going from cohort 1 to 2, confirm some of the things that I've been hearing, and then hear what he's most excited about for cohort 3. So before we dive into that, I want to start things off where I think was one of the most exciting pieces of news that I'd seen in a while, in the sense that it was just a really refreshing way that you guys approached it, and that was the Inner Circle community that you created. Email came out on a Sunday. You were closing down Inner Circle. You were refunding everyone who'd ever paid anything for that, and we're going to continue to keep it open and provide content and sessions for people to join who were alumni of the course. And just so it clarifies this for everyone, this is no way related to the course itself. The course itself continues to grow and operate as it did with the improvements that are being added. But the Inner Circle was the community for people as kind of graduates of the program. So Ali, as a starting point, what, in your own words, because I think I wrote about this as well on Twitter, but why did you guys decide to stop charging people and actually go so far as to refund people for it?
Yeah, so the reason we started off, just for a bit of context for those who aren't familiar, we've got our 6-week course, the Part-Time YouTuber Academy, and then the first time we ran the cohort in November last year, we had loads of people saying, oh my god, this community is so strong. Is there a way we can keep the community events going? Like, we were having daily co-working sessions and homework clubs where we'd all get together and make videos and things like that. And so we thought, membership community seems ideal. I'll be honest, I did have some dollar signs in my eyes because I was thinking, recurring revenue, membership community. It's like the next step for this sort of course creator model. It just made perfect sense. So we thought, you know what, let's make this thing called the Inner Circle as like a Slack group. So we graduate from Circle through to Slack. And then every week we'd have events and stuff like that. And that was the idea. And I think we delivered on that for the first few weeks, first few months even. And we tried to continue delivering on that promise of having lots of stuff going on. I think the problem was that it just I think like with anything like this, the attendance started to taper off. The energy of our energy of leading the sessions, people's energy joining the sessions, it turned into this core group of between 10 and 20 people who we all kind of knew each other very well. We were all kind of mates, and so I guess if someone new came into that who hadn't maybe attended an event, they felt a bit like it was like some old boys club because we all seemed to know each other. And after a while, we decided to, because we're all about providing value and all that stuff, we sent out like a survey to say, hey, how are you guys finding Inner Circle? And we had lots of positive responses and lots of people being like, yeah, it's really helpful because A, B, C, D, E. But we also had like a load of negative responses. And as I'm just not used to having actually negative responses to the stuff that I do, because I try to do everything at such a high level and really over-index on providing value, that to get even, a significant minority of negative responses was like, okay, hang on, something's not working here. We really need to fix it and figure out what is going wrong in this membership community. And then we kind of thought, okay, what if we just scrap it all together? And then I remember thinking that and almost feeling like a weight lifting off my shoulders, because it's actually quite a lot of effort running a recurring membership community where every month you're having to justify the price that people are paying on a monthly fee. You're kind of beholden to customers, you're beholden to them having a good experience, and it's not so clear cut what the transformation is going to be, as you always talk about with a course. With a course, it's very packaged up. I know the transformation is there, I know it's great content, I know it's fantastic. With the membership community, it's like every week we're trying to run the energy, trying to make these events. Just started thinking, what if we just scrapped it completely? And the decision there was that it was one of those things that was taking up a disproportionate amount of my time, the team's time. We were having like 3 events every week. We were having power hour co-working sessions twice a day. We'd be doing stuff and Angus would say, oh, I've got to leave because I've got to host a power hour. I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, it's just so many man hours into it, so much like emotional and like cognitive burden on this thing. And overall revenue-wise, it was contributing maybe 2% to our top line. And I was thinking, okay, I've read The One Thing by Gary Keller, I've read Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I know that we should be doubling down on the things that are working and not being distracted by the other shiny things. So once that idea took hold of, why don't we just scrap it? Then the next step was, and why don't we just refund any money that anyone's ever paid? So we refunded about $100,000, $120,000 of like fees that people paid.
Wow.
We just thought, honestly, this was an experiment. We tried it out. Hopefully we provided value. Some people got value out of it. Some people didn't. Everyone gets their money back. So no harm, no foul, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of great answer. And I love the reference to those 2 books as well as a way to frame this. I think one of the things you said, over-indexing on value, is just so fundamental to be a course creator. If you think of the long-term longevity of what you're doing, that's the key to kind of underpin it all, right? So that's helpful context. You also said in that running a community is a lot of effort, which I can sort of start to relate to now, running a 150-person cohort. What is it like running a 400-person cohort?
Thankfully for me, it's not a lot of stress, because my team takes on that stress. And so I know for them, like Angus in particular is my course manager and our operations director, there are sleepless nights kind of trying to be like, oh my God, are people getting enough value? Are we good enough? Like, we had an email from someone 3 weeks into the course who hadn't accessed the course materials yet. What could we have done to make it easier for people to find the materials? Thankfully, I have sort of outsourced the worrying to him, which is a really nice place for me to be, but I don't know how he finds it. I think broadly, running a 400-person cohort, I think as long as there are systems in place, is not too hard. And one thing that we keep on going back to is just really thinking about it from first principles, being like, okay, what is the experience we want to deliver? What is the limiting step? What is the limiting step stopping us from doing that? And how do we solve this? And so, for example, in cohort 1, when you floated the idea of like peer supporter, alumni mentors, that kind of thing, that was like, oh, okay, yeah, that is a way of solving the problem of community participation. For cohort 2, there were a few other initiatives. This time around, we've sort of scrapped the peer supporter system and replaced it with an in-house, house coaching system. And these are all sort of things that we've put in to try and solve a specific problem. So I think thinking about it like, what is the problem? What is the problem to be solved? And let's figure out what some solutions to this problem would be. And I think in the early days, we were very, our default way of thinking was, how are we going to do this? In-house as a team. And then, over time, I've started to think, okay, how can we bring other people on board to help with this? How can we create system solutions to a system solution to problems rather than people solutions to problems? And that all sounds very vague and abstract, and I sound like one of those business books right now. But it's that sort of stuff, the high level strategy that really helped when iterating on the cohorts.
Yeah, so I mean, tactically what that looks like is and I saw this in your Notion space, there's a lot of documentation of what you're doing, procedures, and really kind of getting very specific with that, and then parceling off, like you said, the small parts of that work. over time. Angus didn't start out doing everything he's doing now for cohort 1. I think so. Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So, the role, Angus's role has grown, Elizabeth's role has grown, the peer supporters. I definitely want to come back to this house system because that's fascinating. Sort of this concept of that team growing around you, what does your 6 weeks look like now when you're running a cohort?
For me, it's actually pretty chill. Broadly, I rock up on a Monday and teach for 2 hours. I rock up on a Thursday and I teach for 2 hours. I have 1 hour with the executive group on a Thursday. I have an hour with the executive group on a Sunday. And I spend maybe a few hours throughout the week just like browsing Circle, which is our community forum, and occasionally giving feedback to people and answering questions. And my preferred way of answering questions is by just making a video. And so I just turn on Loom. Someone asks a question about how do I find my niche? And I just spiel for 10 minutes without thinking about it. Whereas if I were to type it all out, it would just be awful and it would take absolutely ages. So broadly for me, it actually like when our cohort is running, my life is not radically different to when our cohort is not running, which is a really nice place to be because in cohort 1, it was very, very all consuming. But now having like built systems and delegated the responsibility appropriately, I hope, and kind of letting go of.
No, I think we lost Ali for a second there. Can you all hear me still? Okay. I know Ali is in a WeWork just outside Cambridge, so they may have a Wi-Fi issue there. Oh wait, he's just texting me. His MacBook crashed. This is hilarious because this literally happened to me earlier today running ODCC, our second last 15th session of it. Just shut down completely. All right, let's give him, at least the good thing with the new MacBooks is they do start up pretty quickly. So we'll just give him a second to rejoin here. Yeah, so apparently the video quality doesn't come through live on Riverside. The recorded is what so everything gets recorded to the cloud. Like I said, this is the first time, for those who joined late, the first time that actually both Ali or I are experimenting with a live audience for recordings like this. So that's good to know. Maybe a good old Zoom is better for the live stuff. I'm going to resist the urge to get into a conversation about the MacBook, the new M1, with Ali, because I'm sure that could take up the rest of our time. It's going great. Yep, thanks for asking.
All right, we're back.
Ali, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why I just turned off. Like, what the hell?
I think audio. We need to just crank the mic.
Oh, testing. Hello. Mic.
A little bit more.
I'm using the high mic. Hello. Okay, going all the way up. And how's that? Is that better?
There you go. Perfect.
Sweet.
Perfect. Yeah, this literally happened to me today in the middle of ODCC 1, 15th session.
Nightmare.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just saying while we were waiting, we could get into a whole conversation about this MacBook because I've got the new M1. It's done that to me a few times now. The only good thing is it starts back up pretty quickly. So here we are. So we're gonna dive right back in because we were heating up there. I like the fact, first of all, you said it's pretty chill for you. You just show up now. I think just to unpack that for a second, because you said cohort 1 obviously wasn't like that. One of the things I've found as well, especially if you haven't really nailed your curriculum, you're spending a lot of time updating that, and you can't really nail your curriculum until you've done it a few times, or at least once, right? So like, how much of that benefit did you start to see when you were like conceptualizing the course, and then you were just dealing with like a torrent of feedback in cohort 1 versus what it was like in cohort 2?
Yeah, so cohort 1, I was spending like 5 hours preparing each session with Angus, and then teaching the session for 2 hours, and then we were like, okay, taking notes to change it for next time. Cohort 2, it was maybe 1 hour updating the slides, and hopefully this time around it'll be like 10 minutes updating the slides. So like over time, we've kind of nailed down exactly what needs to be in each session. We've sort of restructured it a little bit this time, so maybe there'll be a bit more kind of prep work, but hey, what can you do?
Yeah. No, I think that's huge, and I'm looking forward to seeing the benefit of that, because it's been exhausting. So I wanted to go back to you made a big change from cohort 1 to cohort 2, and taking out the fundamental sessions that you had throughout the program and doing them as a week at the beginning. Why did you do that, and what are some of the benefits you saw from it?
Yeah, so at the start we sort of had like this fundamentals Wednesdays thing, where every Wednesday would be a sort of YouTube fundamentals lesson, and the Monday and Friday sessions, because we had 3 a week for 4 weeks, the Monday and Friday sessions would be like the proper course. The reason we did it that way is because we initially thought the course would be more for intermediate and advanced YouTubers than for complete beginners. But we knew we'd have some complete beginners, so we were like, okay, cool, let's put them on Wednesdays. The thing we learned from that is that 95% of the course was complete beginners, and a lot of the stuff that we were thinking was for beginners was actually like really good stuff that is useful to even pro YouTubers. So like a session on how to find your niche and how to refine your niche. I think about that stuff like on a weekly basis. And so it's not a sort of thing that you figure out once when you're a beginner and then you never have to think about again. It's the sort of thing that you revisit over time. Things like camera confidence, setup, studio setup. Even the pro YouTubers who'd been doing it for years were getting useful tips out of the gear session, because they just hadn't considered like the way that I film my videos, or ceiling mounting a light, or all the different kind of ways to reduce the friction of filming videos. So we thought, let's not relegate this content to being a beginners only kind of club. Let's actually incorporate it within the schema of the course. And so we sort of front loaded the beginner stuff, and this time around, week 1 of the course, we're calling the Part-Time YouTuber Foundations, where we talk about the basic stuff like niche and gear and setting things up and filming your first video, so that we can hit the ground running from week 2 onwards.
I love that. And did it go from 4 weeks to 6 weeks? Did you expand it?
It did, yeah. So in between cohort 1 and 2, we turned it from a 4-week course to a 6-week course, because at the end of, like, basically from day 1 of cohort 1, people were complaining that it was overwhelming. They weren't really complaining, they were just like, whoa, overwhelming. And we did one of those like word cloud things at the start of week 3, where we said, what are 3 words you'd use to describe the course? And like the most common word was overwhelming. Second most common was like amazing. The third most common was like consistency or something like that, you know. But overwhelming was the main thing. And so I was speaking to a friend of mine, Hassan, who is actually one of your alumni mentors or thing. Yeah. So and he suggested,
he's amazing.
Hey, why not just make it a 6-week course? And I was like, mind blown. That's a great idea. Why not just make it a 6-week course? So yeah, that was that.
Yeah. And you didn't see any fatigue that sets in later because of that?
Yeah, we did. That was the problem.
Okay.
I think with a
That's
4-week
trade-off.
course, it's very much a sprint. And with any course, the momentum falls. Like, people are super keen in week 1, and then they realize making videos is hard, and life gets in the way. And by week 3 and 4, you're getting like 20%. At least we were getting like 20% of people completing the video of the week assignment, rather than 80%, which is what we got for the very first one. With the 6-week course, we found it, that decay kind of continued, and I felt that the community was less strong overall when it was 6 weeks than when it was 4 weeks. Because when it's 4 weeks, the end of week 1, you're basically halfway through the course, and it's like, the hype is there. When it's 6 weeks, it's much more of a marathon rather than a sprint. And the reason we made it 6 weeks was that we were thinking, okay, what is the transformation we're trying to get here? The transformation we're trying to get is for people to make 1 video every week. And that lends itself, and people were joking that, it's a part-time YouTuber academy, but it's like a full-time job going through the content. And that's really not what we want. We want YouTube to be a part-time thing. We don't want it to be a full-time job going through our course. And so we were thinking, okay, let's spread the content out over 6 weeks, really nail down, like, the only thing we care about is you make 1 video every week. And for the people that do that, 6 weeks is hopefully a better amount of time to build that habit than 4 weeks would be. Having said that, like with everything, I'm not sure what the numbers are. I think maybe 20 to 30% of people are actually making a video a week, which is pretty good. And I used to be disgruntled by this. Like, why are so few people, relatively speaking, actually taking this seriously? Come on, guys. Haven't you heard the preaching? Don't you know that if you just make a video a week and do it for 2 years, your life will literally change? And I can 100% guarantee that. But why the frick are you not doing it? That was what was going through my mind. And I was chatting to marketing coach Billy Brose, who also works with Tiago and David and things. And he was saying, look, man, you know, if the guys running Peloton were annoyed every time someone just put the Peloton on, under the bed, they'd be out of business or something like that. And you have to accept to an extent that the reason people sign up to courses often is to fulfill an identity thing within them. And it's like a gym membership. If a gym were to take it personally every time someone didn't use a gym membership, they wouldn't be running the gym for very long. And so I'm now, yes, we're trying our best to hold people's hands and make it as easy as possible to make one video a week. But I think having done 2 cohorts, I now don't take it personally. I know that only some people are going to stick with it, and those are the people that are going to succeed. Just like a gym doesn't take it personally if only 10% of their members actually show up every week to do the workouts.
That's a really cool analogy. I like that. So, okay, let me address this question that Junaid has here. What's up, Junaid? Because I think this is applicable to anything. This is quick tangent. Like, what's your system for capturing ideas for improvements? In his case, it's ideas for how to delegate things to future cohorts. Maybe even this insight that you just shared from Billy. Like, how are you collecting that so that you can improve in future cohorts?
Yes, we have our opening survey, we have a closing survey, we have a mid-course survey, and we keep track a lot of the sentiment on Circle to see how people are doing. We have like a very liberal email us if you have any questions policy. We even have a no child left behind policy whereby if someone is straggling and not doing the work, we will literally send them an email and let them book a one-on-one Zoom call for half an hour completely for free, just to see if there's anything we can do to help. So with all these conversations that we're having, we get a lot of data around like what is the thing that's stopping people from doing it, and often it's more often than not it's actually circumstances outside of their control, like outside of our control, like their job got crazy, or the kids decided to get ill, or I don't know, COVID happened, and all these like real life things get in the way. And then we think, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know, feel free to join the next cohort if this one's not right for you.
Yeah, and that sort of helps with your with getting over the fact that not everyone's taking action, doing the work. So I want to come back to something you said about like, because this is a big challenge I think a lot of course creators have. I definitely saw this with ODCC, is that you get people joining from all different experience levels. And you've shared one way that you've dealt with that with the foundations content. You played around with having it in the course, it's now at the front. Anything else you do to cater to people from vastly different experience levels?
I think the main thing is recognizing that most people are beginners, and beginners need emotional hand-holding. Because this is something that I didn't quite appreciate. I think you and I discussed this last time we were talking on a podcast. Like, I like having done YouTube for 4 years and generally being the sort of person that doesn't really like. I've developed an immunity to putting myself out there on the internet, thanks to initially starting a blog, thanks to Austin Kleon's amazing book Show Your Work, and doing it for a while and kind of being okay with looking like a fool on the internet. I kind of had the curse of knowledge about this, and I just assumed that the thing stopping people from making YouTube videos is the fact that they don't know the camera settings. But it's actually not that. The thing that's stopping people from making YouTube videos is the fact that they're scared. And I just didn't quite appreciate that people older than me, i.e. real adults, would be scared of making YouTube videos. I assumed that was like a 13-year-old kid thing to be scared of. But actually, everyone's scared. It was a very liberating insight in a way, because I think I have this default bias towards thinking that anyone older than me is a real adult and therefore has their shit together and therefore doesn't suffer from the same insecurities that I do or that people younger than me do. But we're all the same. No one's figured it out. It was really nice. And so a lot of the most valuable bits of the course to people seem to be the more motivational sides of things, like recognizing that sometimes making a video is a struggle and that it's okay, and sometimes you hate the sound of your voice, and sometimes you worry about the video not being good enough but you put it out anyway. All of those things, which I just hadn't thought about including in the course, because to me it felt a bit like wishy-washy, a bit like fluffy, and I did not want people to say this course is full of fluff, like it's just motivational. But it was actually the motivational fluff that provided the most emotional support to the beginners. And so recognizing that, we now, instead of having peer supporter sessions, we've now decided to bring everything in-house to form our new kind of house system. And we're hoping that will also be another thing that will give a lot of emotional support to the beginners that are struggling to put themselves out there online. But also, because we've got like pro YouTubers leading the sessions, it means that intermediate and advanced people won't feel, hopefully, that this course is catering too much to beginners. Because, you know, we've got Hannah Witten, 700,000 subscribers, Jack Edwards, 600,000, Carmen Medic, 800,000, Elizabeth Phillips, 60,000 in like a few months. Got JDJ joining us recently, 500k subscribers. These are sort of like heavy hitter YouTubers that have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone who is intermediate or advanced to think, which was the problem, admittedly, that we had with our old system of peer supporters, that it sort of felt like the blind leading the blind. And I took that feedback very to heart. I was like, that's a really good point. We cannot allow the blind to lead the blind. Therefore, let's bring in the big guns. Let's pay these guys a lot of money.
Yeah.
We're spending like 50,000 on hiring these people across the 5 weeks just to make it worth their while, because big YouTubers have sources of revenue and are busy.
Yeah.
But we were like, you know what, this expense will hopefully be totally worth it, because now we've got real experts who've been doing it for a long time, offering beginners advice, but also being able to help the intermediate and advanced people.
Yeah. Man, so much to unpack here. So before we dive into some of the specifics of this house system, I think that's very interesting take, is the balance between destination and journey content. And so like how, because again, I feel like I keep saying this, but I've seen this now at the ODCC, is that I'm actually holding content back, because I found at the beginning I was giving too much and it's just overwhelming. Then nothing gets absorbed. And so how much of your stuff are you holding back and letting people sort of focus more on the journey? Yeah,
that's a good question. We don't hold a lot of it back. The reason we don't hold a lot of it back is because I am mindful always of the sort of person who I was initially trying to attract with the course, i.e. someone with 100,000 plus subscribers who's got their shit together, who's been making videos consistently for a few years, and now wants a solid systemized process for churning this out, hiring a team, outsourcing, blah, 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 thinking systematically about branding, all the kind of stuff we talk about. There's like 2 of those people in each cohort. But for those 2 people, me holding back content is not what they signed up for. And I imagine if I were to do a YouTube course run by Mr. Beast or Matt Diavella or Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon or any of these YouTubers that I look up to, if I were to do a YouTube course, I would feel hard done by if they were holding anything at all back. And so for that tiny sliver of the audience that the stuff is relevant to, we keep it in. And but what we started doing is caveating it all, be like, okay, we are about to go into territory that will be irrelevant unless you are at this stage already. And this time around, we have a more defined way of doing this, whereby sort of like there's broadly 3 categories that people are in. There is the make my first video. There is the make a video every week. And then there's the make a good video every week. And you have to be able, you have to start by making your first video, because then you can't make a video a week. And you have to be able to make a video a week before you even think about making a good video a week. And so depending on where you are on the scale, like the content is when we talk about level 6 of repurposing content, that is only really relevant to the people, even beyond making one good video a week, the people that are like, I am making one good video a week, and now I want to become the next Tim Ferriss. Okay, cool. That means you need to have your content across all the platforms, outsource, build a team, blah, 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 blah. It's not relevant to the guys still struggling to hit the record button because they're scared of putting themselves out there. So this is something we are trying to signal more actively, that here is the content, but if it's not the right time for you, then don't worry about it.
I love that. You've defined, this is a key thing for, I think, dealing with people at different experience levels. You've defined milestones, which become a common language for people. And so like they know they can easily fit themselves into one of those buckets. And then you can map your content to those. And I think one of the interesting things I've seen now is you've had the benefit of doing this a couple times now. So when you first did, you almost like you got to put the coat of paint down and then take a step back and go, okay, wait, this actually looks better here, and like right, but you have to be able to put the paint down first. So I mean, have the work that you're doing now, which is admittedly a lot less, like you've said, is it more like, is it that level of refinement? Because you're not changing like whole concepts or anything, right?
No, it's more like how do we take the same stuff and reshuffle it in a way that makes it make more sense? So one quite insight we had this time around was it would be really nice if every week had a theme. So week 1 foundations, week 2 ideation, week 3 construction, week 4 branding, week 5 expansion, week 6 monetization. Is like, it becomes a lot easier to be like, oh guys, we're in week 4, and in week 4 we're talking all about how to make your videos really good. We're in week 3, and in week 3 we're talking all about how to make people actually click on the videos in the first place. We're in week 5 is all about expansion. And this was a bit inconvenient, like having to shuffle things around, and like before it's like, oh, do we have a session on the Friday or on the Monday? But we sort of thought, no, I think overall the value in being able to label each week justifies the fact that we have to move things around and chop and change the slides just a little bit. So it's that sort of high-level structural changes that we're now doing this time around.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's such a key signpost for people who are going through it. I think to the point we've seen in the chat here, where people, if they are feeling behind, they can see exactly where they are, where they're supposed to be, and what they've missed. All right, so let's talk about the house system a little bit. I've seen a few people post this, that they're they're a house, what is it, a house prefect or a
house master? That's the word we use.
House master. Yeah. So talk us through the house system. This sounds fascinating.
So, are you familiar with like the house system they have in boarding schools? I guess you would be through Harry Potter.
In South Africa.
Oh, it's a thing in South. Yeah.
Yeah, and South Africa.
Nice.
Yeah.
So basically, we're modeling it off of the sort of British boarding school system, which is similar to what they have at Hogwarts, whereby you have a cohort of people, and then your house will be like your family. Your triumphs will earn you points, and your rule breaking, and you will lose points. At the end of the year, the house with the most points is awarded the house cup. And then Neville says, Trevor! So it's like that model where we have X number of houses. Each house has 20 to 30 students, and they each meet once a week with a housemaster at the same time, with the same group every week. It also models similar to the college system that's used by universities like Oxford and Cambridge, whereby, like, Cambridge University is not a thing. It's a social construct. The university is actually made up of 30 different colleges, and you are a member of a college. So as a medical student at Emmanuel College, there were 14 other medical students in my year. And so my default friendship group would be those 14 people, but then I'd go to lectures with the whole 300 cohort of 300 people. But the great thing about the college system is that it gives you that initial default friendship group, which you do not get at other universities where it's just a group of 300, and then it ends up being the people that you happen to sleep on the same corridor as, or the people who happen to live next to you. So modeling of the college system, combining the Oxford and Cambridge college system with the Harry Potter house system, led us to this model whereby we figure out, we get everyone in the cohort on a spreadsheet. We ask them, are you beginner, intermediate, advanced? We ask them, what are your preferred time slots for one of these sessions? And then we painstakingly split up the cohort of 400 to 600 people into groups of 20 to 30. And each group meets at group. We've named the houses after Harry Potter spells. So House Incendio, for example, will meet on every Monday at 2 p.m. British Standard Time, British Summer Time. Yeah. And their housemaster will be Jack. Okay, and then House Alohomora will meet Wednesday, 8 p.m. BST, and their housemaster will be Hannah. And then you've got this group meeting once a week, same group, get to make friends easy, have the same housemaster, get to know them very well, and it hopefully will, it's the first time we're trying it, but I'm hoping that will create a much more structured way of doing peer support sessions while also having a bit of fun, because then we do house points and house competitions, and when you make a video, your house gets points. When you are helpful on Circle, your house gets points. Adding accountability and friendly competition and good vibes and forced friendship groups. I'm a big fan of forced friendship groups. I think they're the best thing ever. Hopefully this will, I'm hoping, give better outcomes for our students.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a roaring success. That sounds incredible. And somewhat gamified, like you said, friendly competition. So much fun, as Miriam says in the chat. I think it's a good question. Do houses lose points? How can they lose points?
Oh, probably not.
Okay.
I can't imagine something someone would do that would make them lose a point. But I suppose it could be kind of funny. Maybe just there's a bit of banter in the live sessions, being like, Tom, that's a silly question. 10 points from Gryffindor. But then I don't want to discourage silly questions, and there's no such thing as a silly question.
Yeah.
So Maybe if someone makes fun of me, it's be like, oh, lol, Ali, your bathroom break was a bit long. Be like, all right, John's getting a bit too big for his boots. 10 points from Incendio.
Yeah.
That would be kind of funny.
You can have so much, so much fun with this concept. That's very cool. I'm excited. And so you match these people based on, I know you use the My Snapshot. Do you use that at all to help match people?
Yeah, we do. So we have that as part of our onboarding survey, which we have. This is an interesting insight. We renamed our onboarding survey to the Part-Time YouTuber Blueprint, and we did not refer to the word survey at all, because when we call it a survey, people think filling it in is optional, and they think they're doing us a favor by filling it in. When we call it the Blueprint, and we say that unless you fill this in, you are not going to get access to any of the course material, that means we have a 100% completion rate for the onboarding survey. And therefore, within the onboarding survey, we can ask for their mailing address, because we're sending them physical workbooks this time around, kind of like what you did with the swag pack. And secondly, we can ask for their time preferences. And then Charlotte and Martin and their data team have made a big spreadsheet where they show us all of the different time slots and who wants which time. And then Angus and Elizabeth go through and they match people roughly based on like beginner, intermediate, advanced, and what time slot they prefer to be in. And a little bit of like extra bits, like we've got a guy who makes videos about books, and we know that Jack Edwards is a YouTuber who makes videos about books and is one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. Therefore, let's pair the two together just so they have books to talk about. That kind of stuff, but that's like a sort of niche sprinkle on top.
Yeah, I like that. And then last question on this, do you have a format for how the sessions run? Are they going to be kind of like peer support sessions? What does that look like?
The format is, we've said to the housemasters that it can basically be whatever they want, because they'll be able to feel the pulse of their group best. But what we're thinking is that beyond the first couple of sessions where it'll be mostly introductions, what we're thinking is we'll have initially kind of 15 minutes to half an hour of sharing your struggles. What was something you didn't understand this week? Let's talk about it. That kind of vibe. We would potentially have breakout room activities, so we have plans for those if we need to use them. So if people have loads of questions and are really struggling with something, then the whole session will be that. But if not, then we've got exercises in the breakout rooms. And crucially, once the session ends at the hour mark, we'll have an optional kind of feedback give and take session, where if you want, you can stay on the call, go into a breakout room, or maybe like the final 15 minutes, something like that. Go into a breakout room with like one or two other people and do a round robin feedback on the first 60 seconds of your video. So I would watch the first 60 seconds of yours, you would watch the first 60 seconds of mine, and then we would give feedback based on this kind of list of things. And so that is another way that we're adding in people getting feedback on their videos. Because in addition, when they film a video and put it on the thing, our team gives them detailed written feedback anyway. So they're guaranteed to get feedback from us, but they also get feedback from their peers, and they also get feedback from whoever is hanging out in circle who happens to want to give it. So that's our rough kind of format.
That's awesome, and that's a very high leverage thing. We do that a little bit in ODCC. We'll just leave the breakout rooms open, and even just the round like feedback on landing pages, on like transformation statements for your course, like that is so key. Like rapid fire feedback just gives people, like you say, it's a whole ecosystem of feedback. So I want to talk about the different tiers you have and pricing. This is a question so many course creators have. Like, how do I price this thing? A lot of them also don't think in tiers, and you've done that since the beginning. I think your tiers have also changed a little bit. I'm just going to throw out a couple of things I've noticed about them, and then feel free to take this however you want. But you've got so basically I think you've introduced a self-serve program, or about to introduce, which is one element of it. Then there's like I forget what you call it. I think it's premium.
We've got essential, premium, and executive.
Thank you. And it's like access to the first cohort, access to a cohort, access to like a cohort and the next one, and then there's like the executive, which is more group coaching. And I'm bastardizing this a little bit, but how did you think about the value you were packaging into each tier, and then how you price them?
I'll be honest, it was very arbitrary. We just did what Tiago does and copied it and adapted it to our course.
Easy.
And initially we did like 25% of that number first cohort, and then we did 50% of that number, and now we've basically copied Tiago's pricing word for word. So pricing is always hard. I wish we had a more like systematic way of doing this, but it was literally just a case of works for Tiago, let's just go with that. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And so you haven't changed it since cohort 1?
So between cohort 1 and 2, we doubled the pricing from $800 for the Essential to $1,500 for the Essential, and we haven't changed it really since.
Okay.
We've tweaked the perks a little bit. So, for example, last time in cohort 2, the executive tier included personalized video feedback from me via Loom, and I was like, okay, easy enough. You know, people, how hard can it be to actually watch people's videos and just give them feedback on Loom? It's just watch it. It was such a nightmare. It was like every week I was having to give feedback to like 50 videos, and I was thinking, oh my god, okay, this does not need to be part of the executive tier. So I just deleted that this time around, and hey, didn't affect sales, so that was good.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted to talk about the executive package because it's something that it was a challenge a little bit at the beginning of ODCC as well. So how do you set up an executive? Well, I think I know the answer to this already, but let me just see. Set up and position an executive package that doesn't exclude a big chunk of people that can't afford it, that feel like they're missing out on some elements of the course.
That's tricky.
Yeah.
Inevitably, the more you pay for something, the more value you're going to get, even if that value is just in the access to me. I took Gary V's approach to this, which is that people don't want to pay extra for more content. They want to pay extra for more access. And to the sort of people we have in our exec groups, like people with profitable internet businesses who want to grow on YouTube and do everything right and want to succeed from day one, having access to me to ask questions, like even if I save them like 2 weeks of effort, that is easily ROI positive. Whereas for more beginners that aren't yet making money, like there is really no extra value in having access to me, because me giving that, like, there is no magical sprinkle of insight that I will give them that will move the needle for them. What they need to do is make a video every week, make a good video every week, and then scale up. Whereas with the exec group, it's a bit more like, okay, my specific circumstance is X. I am making $2 million a month from my health and fitness business. What would you do in my position if I have literally all the money in the world to spend on YouTube? Then I can be like, all right, let's figure this out. If I had all the money in the world to spend on YouTube, I would do A, B, C, D, and E. Whereas that is irrelevant advice for the vast majority of people. So I don't think of it as the exec people are getting extra content. I just think of it as they're getting extra access. And I mean, it's just more opportunities to ask Q&A, really. Like everyone else has an opportunity to ask Q&A at the end of the session and on Circle as well. So hopefully not too many people are complaining.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great description. It's basically they're buying time to tap into years of accumulated experience, which, like you say, can help them shortcut 2-3 weeks worth of effort and work. I think that's great. I think it is always a challenge a lot of course creators will have to face, that you need to get that messaging right so that others don't feel like they're missing out. That, like, basically what I'm saying is that everything in the essentials and premium package, even just the essentials, is enough. Like, that is going to be what you need to get you to that transformation.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, people don't even need that. Like, it's all this information is for free on YouTube. Really, all you have to do is just make a video every week and do it for 2 years, and your life will change. But you know,
that sounds too.
I mean,
easy,
I've got
right?
a personal trainer because I can't motivate myself to work out. So it's similar to that.
Exactly. I think you mentioned earlier, like, courses is buying an identity. It's also buying accountability. It's buying a community for feedback. Those are some of where the real value lies. Let's just go back to the self-serve program quickly. I think, is that a new thing for cohort 3?
It is. So we have an option. So our essential package starts at 1,300, or 15 is at 1,500. But we thought we'd offer a self-serve option for 1,300. And the self-serve option would literally be, all you get is the recordings of the course material. And the reason we introduced that is because I have a friend called James Johnny, who is like a pro YouTuber, 700,000 subscribers in less than a year, with like a handful of videos. And we talk about the course, and he was saying, honestly, Ali, I would sign up, but I hate cohort courses. I don't have time. I just want to be able to watch the videos at 3x speed. And I was like, yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. I wouldn't sign up to a cohort course around being a YouTuber. I would want the course recordings and to just be able to blitz them at 3x speed. And the fact that we didn't have that as an option was a bit stupid. So I thought, you know what? Let's have this self-serve and really, really signal that it's only for advanced YouTubers or experienced YouTubers. Because what the beginners need is hand-holding and accountability. What the pros need is Ali's magical insight. And for them, like, if I take Matt D'Avella's YouTube course and I'm watching it at 3x speed, if there's even one snippet of advice in there that improves our processes by 1%, it has 10x paid for itself by an absolute mile. And that's the sort of stuff I'm looking for. Whereas if I were a beginner or more intermediate and I was still struggling with the one video a week, one good video a week, that's the thing that I need hand-holding and accountability. I say hand-holding in like a very... it can sound like negative and derogatory. I need hand-holding in a lot of things in life, like going to the gym. There's nothing wrong with needing hand-holding, but it's a different value proposition than someone who's already a pro who just wants the secret sauce to see if there's any at all.
Yeah. And do you record those separately, or are they edited versions of live sessions you've done?
Oh yeah, just edited versions of live sessions. I film all the live sessions with my fancy-ass camera, screen recording. We have 2 full-time editors working on in-house, and so I think that's one thing that we do well. Like, our course recordings look pretty great, whereas most other courses will just put the Zoom recording up, which is fine, but it's just not that pro, especially when the course is about being a YouTuber. So we go the extra mile in production value.
Yeah, and you've saved yourself tons of time of having to re-record that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, that's interesting. It's actually for the more advanced people. Have you thought about having an introductory beginners package that's self-paced to get people up and running?
Yes, we thought about this for a very long time. We were thinking of making a sort of $200 to $500 part-time YouTuber foundations course, which would be a self-paced course for beginners that talks about all the stuff that we don't talk about in our course, i.e. camera settings and lighting setups, and like really, like, you know, your first video, and a lot of more stuff around motivation, or a lot more stuff around how to figure out what to make videos about. We decided not to do that in the end because speaking to, again, Billy Brose, he said that he's got a friend who does cohort-based courses, and they released a cheaper self-paced option for beginners, and they found that it cannibalized sales of the cohort. And when we were thinking about this, we were thinking, okay, what is the point of this beginners module thing? Like, if the transformation we want is people making 1 video a week, there are already dozens of self-paced $500 courses that they can go through, and they go through them and they still don't make 1 video a week. The real transformation is actually to get them into a live cohort so that we can hold their hand and give them a community and accountability so that they make 1 video a week. Therefore, what is even the point of making a beginner's foundations course? Because then it just, it doesn't differentiate us. Right now, we're the most premium YouTuber course on the market, which is a nice place to be. We're not competing in the $500 sell, do it at your own pace. Is it Matt D'Avella? Is it Graham Stephan? Is it Andre Jick's course? Is it Sunny Iliad, well, whatever her name is, course? Is it like this person's course? We're just opt out of that competition, and it's just like, look, this is a live cohort. It's for adults. It's for people who have money or are scholarship people. If you think this will be helpful, it's for you. And after a lot of deliberation, we thought, like, literally, there's no point doing this beginner's course. And then that was another weight off my shoulders, because I was like, great, don't have to do this. Because I was like really annoyed at the prospect of filming 80 videos, because this would have been an 80 to 100 video long course. I would have not wanted to hold anything back. It would have been a content overload, but it wouldn't have created that transformation of 1 video a week.
Well, so that I love that. That's so key. That's, you know what the transformation is. Your transformation is output based as well, not input, and it's.
Mate, I've been drinking your Kool-Aid for way too long. It's all about the transformation.
I'm glad that's I mean, I can totally imagine I can viscerally feel that relief of not, because it seems like the right thing to do. I've definitely played with the idea as well. That was helpful. Good thought process there. Let's go. You mentioned scholarships for a second. Let's just go there as well, because that's something I don't know if you ever heard of a thing called Parity Bar.
No, what is that?
So it's like a plugin you can get. I think it's actually free. You get on your website, and it basically just looks at the IP address of the person, and if they're in a country that is not, they don't earn $1 salary, basically, it gives them a discounted rate
for
whatever your feature price is. And so someone who's in the audience, Rob Hope, actually introduced that to me, and I think it's an interesting idea, and we're going to start experimenting with it. But you guys, another way of doing that is scholarships, which yours a bit more. If you apply for a scholarship, you guys review those, and then you offer them. Thanks, Rob. And so let's talk through that a little bit. Like, how does your scholarship process look like, and how do you decide who gets a scholarship, and how much do you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this time around we had about 150 applications, and we don't really have a bar on this. We're happy to give a scholarship to anyone who feels who basically who's put in a decent amount of effort into the application and who we think will fit well in the community, i.e. they're not like a 13-year-old, because we have like you have to be at least 18, because we want this to be a community of adults who are taking things seriously rather than a community of kids. Not that there's anything wrong with the community of kids, but it's just not the vibe we want to create. We want the scholarship application to show that they will. I think one of the questions on it is, in what way will you add value to the community? Because we're giving you like $2,000 worth of free stuff here. Like, you've got to, in a way, own your keep, as it were. But like, and so when we get scholarship applications where someone has put in effort into making a video, has followed the instructions crucially, and has shown that, hey, I've got this background, I would love to give people feedback on this stuff, I love connecting with people, we think, okay, this person would be an asset to our community, and therefore let's give them the scholarship. That's sort of what's going through our minds. I don't know the ins and outs of this perfectly, because Angus and Elizabeth just kind of handle it, but I was surprised by how like, I want to say this in a nice way, how bad most of the scholarship applications were. That wasn't a nice way at all. Like, we had 150 applications, and Angus felt that only like 3 of them deserved a scholarship. And I was like, whoa, mate, that's a bit mean. And he was like, yeah, the rest just weren't very good. They either more than half of them just did not follow the simple instructions that we had on the form, so automatically they get rejected. We said, show us a YouTube video no longer than 2 minutes, post it as unlisted. If someone can't follow those instructions, then okay, well, they've clearly spent like 10 seconds thinking about this. And the rest of them, I'm not sure exactly what criteria he was using, and I wanted to not get involved in this because my personal tendency is to just say yes to everyone and just give away far too many scholarships. But I know that when you're curating a community, you have to have the right people in there, and forcing people to pay $1,500 to $5,000 to join a community actually does give you a certain level of quality in like a moralistic way, a certain level of quality of community member. And therefore giving scholarships on the basis of, will this person be a net addition to the community, or will they just be taking away? I think that is kind of our thought process.
Yeah, and I think that quality is like, it's an indicator of commitment, of investment in the process, which comes with everything else of helping others within the community and that. So I think that's totally fair. That's interesting, and I like the idea of the sort of filtering questions as well. It makes it a lot easier to review those. Okay, so I wanted to go. There was a good question in here. Dominic's shooting his shot, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. I saw one earlier. Oh yeah, I got to ask this. What house are you if you were at Hogwarts?
I've never actually done the Pottermore quiz. I've been intending to do it as like a video for my second YouTube channel. It's going to happen at some point, but I have just like never done it. I'd like to think I'm a Gryffindor, but who knows?
But TBD. Yeah. All right. So I think we talked about the tiers, and have you ever thought about having less tiers, or are you happy with the 3, 9, and self-serve as a separate package?
So Nathan Barry had a podcast in 2015 and it was all about like how to sell an ebook, and he was very big on multiple pricing tiers, and he just made such a good case for it that now anything that I put out online, I feel, okay, we have to have some sort of pricing options, because for the people who want to pay more, we should have an option for them to pay more, basically, and therefore we should offer them the access that they want in return for that, and then it works and all this stuff. 3 feels like a good number. I feel like 3 plus self-serve feels a bit too much. I would ideally like it to be self-serve, live option 1, and then live option expensive. That would be ideal. We were toying with that idea, but we decided, you know what, let's not mess with a formula that's not broken, and let's just let's do 3 and self-serve. It's kind of arbitrary, but
yeah. Do you have a preference of any package that people take, or is it completely ambivalent? Oh, you're completely ambivalent.
I would like people to sign up to premium, because premium makes us more money. I think premium is also more worth it, because they get free enrollment into the next cohort of the course, and they get unlimited like lifetime access to the course updates, which will change over time as YouTube changes. So I personally think that's the best value for money. But I know, having done some research into the pricing stuff, that most people will just go for the cheapest option, which is totally fine. They get like tons and tons of value from the cheapest option as well.
Yeah, and can always come back for more. Niti, I hope you enjoyed the response to the Hogwarts question, because your follow-up message is quite beautiful there. Very, very cool. And then I think I saw one more. Okay, yeah, we talked about those. So let's start to wrap things up here, Ali. I want to let's turn our attention towards cohort 3. So we talked about the house system. I think that's a big one. What else are you excited for as you guys approach kickoff?
Yeah, the thing I'm excited for is systemizing more of our process and bringing more people on board to help with the cohorts. So we had a few like real standout community members last time around. Sarah, Akhtar, and Nathan, and so we've hired them as like full-timers, basically, or for full-time / part-timers for the duration of the cohort, and their job will be to basically live on Circle and give feedback to people on their videos and just be generally nice and stuff. And I'm excited for this because giving people video feedback was the thing that was taking up the bulk of Angus and Elizabeth's time. And now that Angus is sort of our director of operations and Elizabeth is more taking a managerial role as well, I actually want them to be working on the business rather than in the business. To use Michael Gerber's analogy from the E-Myth.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of stuff that particularly excites me. It's like, okay, how can we now, like, we know we can deliver a transformation. How can we now deliver a transformation at scale and without it feeling like so much of a heavy lift every time we do a cohort? And then the Part-Time YouTuber Academy becomes this sort of cash cow that we run 3 cohorts a year. It basically funds the whole business. It makes up like 80% of our revenue, which feels a bit scary, and hopefully moves us towards my goals of becoming the next Tim Ferriss.
Yeah. I mean, the trajectory sounds right. It looks like that is where it's headed, and it's really cool to see this and to have you be so open about the whole process of building it.
Yeah, I sometimes worry about it. It's like one of these meta things whereby when someone is running a course about something and they're talking about the economics of running the course about that something, then the people in the course about that something would feel like, I'm being taken advantage of because you're talking about money and you're viewing me as like a cow to milk, to use that marketing analogy, milk the cow as much as possible.
Right.
But my theory on this is, what else? Don't hate the player, hate the game. We all kind of know what's going on, and especially because our course is all about how do you effectively monetize a YouTube channel. We're doing a good job of effectively monetizing the YouTube channel, but I think at the same time, money is just an exchange of value, and so you only make money by providing value. Yeah.
That brings it full circle. I mean, that's how we started this conversation, where you over-indexed on value. I think what's interesting to me, having had this conversation, is that you may have sort of retired this official separate package of a community that you had, but you're actually doubling down on the community, and it's probably one of the most important, if not the most important parts of Part-Time YouTuber Academy.
Yeah. I'm hoping that because we'll continue running the community stuff, it's going to be free, it's going to be at least one event a week. I'm hoping that people will feel that being part, like going through the course, it's not just that 6 weeks, it's actually like a lifetime thing. And in fact, we're even planning like a Christmas ball party type thing in London where people, we'll get people and get to meet them in real life. And already we're seeing like, Matthew, who's sitting across from me, was meeting up with some PTYA people like 2 days ago in London, and that's just kind of cool. It's cool seeing that sort of stuff happening.
Yeah. Amazing. I totally, so much to look forward to with this. Where should people go? What would you like to point them towards if they want to get in touch, find out more, get involved?
Yeah, probably follow me on Twitter and my website. I don't know what to say. I mean, my YouTube channel is the main hub, but if you actually want to contact me, you can't really do that through YouTube. I would recommend replying to some of my tweets or just emailing me at ali@aliabdaal.com. And I'm in the process of hiring a new executive assistant, and we're going to figure out a system whereby we can reply to every email. So, fingers crossed.
Wow. There you go, Dom. There's your chance to take what you just posted in the chat and send it to Ali. Ali, this was, as always, a fascinating, enjoyable conversation. I've left learning a bunch from you, and I just want to thank you for spending the time with me today.
Yeah, mate, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure speaking, and thanks again for all the Kool-Aid you've been putting out on Twitter about like transformational online courses.
I'm so glad you're lapping it up.
Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to blitzing all of your recordings at 3x speed. I wish I could attend the live sessions, but it's just the timings. So I'm just gonna.
I'll give you a self-serve program.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll do a self-serve, and we'll do another one of these afterwards. We can chat about it. Awesome. All right, have a good rest of the night then.
Catch you later. Bye.
Thanks
Bye,
everyone
everyone.
for joining.
See you later.
Take care.